What's up, everybody? It's your boy Rudy here to bring you guys another podcast. We're on podcast number 5. I am Rudy. This is Rudy Rambles. And if you're new here, what I do is I just kind of talk about things that involve me, mountain biking, some current events, and things that I find on the internet that do with mountain biking that I think are cool. So, first thing I want to do is start off talking about, let's see, like 4 or 5 days ago, I ended up deciding that I was going to keep my Chameleon. I was dead set on just selling it, using the money, and working it towards another trail bike, so that I can, continue the bike reviews, because that's what I really like to do. Anyways, so I decided, since I hadn't gotten as far as riding the Chameleon with 29-inch wheels, I pretty much had everything that I needed to do to switch it over to 29-inch wheels to at least give it a try, so that I knew before I sold the bike or before I go any further that at least I took advantage or full advantage of trying to get everything out of the bike. Because if you guys don't know, the Santa Cruz Chameleon is the Chameleon of bikes whenever it comes to hardtails, especially. It's got a pretty steep head tube angle. I think it's like 66.7 or something like that. Maybe it's not that much. Yeah, I think it is. I think it is like 66.7. Or no, it's almost 67. That's what it is. It's almost a 67 head tube degree angle. And then the seat is like 70. God, it's like 70 something, 75, 76, something like that. I probably should have looked that up before I started trying to shoot out these numbers. Anyways, really, the bike is good in all configurations thus far. And I've had it with I've had it set up for the longest time. Whenever I first got the bike, it came with it was the D build. It was 27.5, 2.8-inch tires. They were Recons front and rear. I did a different iteration of it. Of course, I've upgraded some other things along the way, dropper seat posts and brakes and things like that. But I ended up putting a really nice set of wheels and tires on it. And I went down to a 2.6, and I went to DT Swiss hubs and race face wheels, 30 mil internal width, and then I put a 36. I had a Fox 36 Performance Elite with a grip 2, and man, did that make that bike come alive. I mean, on the flatter, like less demanding terrain, like single track stuff, that bike is just fun. It's just fun. It pops and skips and jibs off of everything. It's really a joy to ride the bike. So fast forward, right? Like, that's my favorite iteration of the bike. Was going to sell it, and it's set up like that. And then I decided, no, I'm going to take all those parts off and put it towards a different build. So I put everything back on the bike that was original. So the 40 millimeter internal width WTB wheels, the 2.8 Recons went back on it. The old fork went back on it, which is a Recon. It's the RockShox Recon, and put the original cranks back on it because I had I had some carbon cranks laying around. I put those away. Anyways, took the brakes off of it. I had some really nice Code R's on it that were probably more than that bike needed anyways. Put the levels back on, and original handlebars and sims, and blah blah blah. And I took the dropper seat post off and put a cheaper dropper seat post on it. Like I said, fast forward, right? So getting ready to sell the bike, I got everything back like stock on it, and I just couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. I couldn't put it on for sale. I had it built up. It was working 100%. Had a nice dropper seat post on it. Put the original handlebars, and I just couldn't do it. So it's just sitting there, and I hadn't sold the rims that came on my Norco, which are 29-inch wheels. They are a Stans Flow D's, and they have these Shimano hubs on them. They're like a Shimano Dior hub, which are okay. The hub engagement's crap, but whatever. It's probably better than the SRAMs that were on there before, like slightly, but a little bit better. So I still had the cassette. I had the Dior cassette from the Norco build, All this stuff is from the Norco build. Let's just name that out. The stuff that I had left over from the Norco build was the Stans Flow D wheels that had the Shimano hubs, the Dior hubs on it, right? Micro spline. So I also had the Dior cassette, SLX derailleur, and SLX shifter from that bike. So really all I needed was really all I thought I needed was some what do you call it? Rotors to put on, because the rotors that are on there are center lock. Well, come to find out, I actually had a set of center lock adapters so that I could put 6 bolts on there. So I could take the 6 bolts that were currently on the bike, switch them over to that. And that was what I thought I was waiting for. But all along, I had everything that I needed. So I just needed to set aside the time and switch some things over. So I just did that. I put everything that we just talked about on the bike. And then I took off the original handlebars, and I had some 30 mil rise alpha ride and stem bars and stem off of my common saw that I actually like. I hadn't sold yet. They're just kind of laying around. So I put those on that bike, switched everything over, and decided that I was going to go shred the trails. Oh, the tires. I haven't talked about the tires. So I had randomly picked up these tires. I was in one of the local bike shops, and a guy was swapping out his tires, and he was actually cleaning them out there at the shop. And I said, hey, dude, what are you going to do with those tires? Because I could use some extra 29-inch tires, because I could sell them with the rims was my thing, but ended up keeping them. So he was getting rid of a very, very mildly used set of Maxxis DHF front and rear tires. They were 2.6, but they're 29ers, so they were what I needed. And he just asked me. I said, are you gonna sell them, or are you gonna put them online or whatever? And he said, yeah. I said, well, what do you want for them? He's like, I don't know. I was like, dude, I got a $50 bill right here, right now. He's like, all right, sounds good. And so I took them off his hands. And so all this stuff pretty much sat in the garage off to the side until I decided to put on this bike. Either it was on sale on the Facebook Marketplace or wherever, or it was just, it was just sitting there. So fast forward, we put all this stuff on the bike. We go out for a ride, and it was actually, I should back up just a little bit. It was more difficult than I thought it was. Like, I had everything that I needed, right? And I really didn't run into any issues until it came to cutting the chain. It was my first time doing it, and I had a hell of a time. I thought that I needed to be on the highest gear to cut it, and that's where I cut it. And then once over, I was starting to index the gears, and I would go to the bottom gear. It just had a bunch of sag, so I ended up taking out 2 more links. Anyways, after I got that figured out, the thing shifted fine. Went through all the gears, and I didn't have any other fuss after that. So go out on the trails to go ride this bike, to go shred it. And I'm at McAllister Park here in San Antonio, and it's a very mild terrain trail. Basically do about, I think I did like 10.5 miles there. And it's pretty flat, XC-ish. There's a lot of places where you can pedal hard and kind of keep your speed and keep going. And normally whenever we do this route, me and a friend of mine, usually we stay somewhere around 10.5 to 11.5 miles per hour. And that's what we try to stick around. Like, we don't have cadence readers. We do have mile per hours. I just got my first bike computer. I want to talk about that a little bit. So according to him and what my Strava says, yeah, we're somewhere right around that 10 to 10.5 miles per hour deal. Anyways, I went out there, and I was by myself. I actually filmed a bunch of the ride, because I wanted to put it on my YouTube channel as kind of like a second after it. This, hey, I did this build. Now we went out for a ride. This is how I liked it, and I blew it out of the water, man. I was like I was 11.25 miles an hour, and I wasn't even trying. Like, literally, I wasn't even trying. Now, usually I do this loop on my big bike, or I should say bigger bike, my trail / all mountain bike, my Bronson, which is a 27.5 bike. That weighs like 34 pounds. and that's what this bike weighs. It weighs like 34 pounds. The Bronson has, like, some added weight to it. It has a little bit beefier tires. It also has inserts in it. But it also has like carbon wheels, carbon cranks, carbon CC frame, so XO1, so it's a sick build of a bike itself. As to where this thing's just all aluminum. And before it was actually 33. You know what? Well, I have to go back and look at the pictures. It's not 34 pounds. It was 32, and I think it's 33 now. Like right on the nose. Switching everything over from 27.5 with the Dior XL parts, and also I did have an 11-speed NX on there, not a 12-speed. So obviously it added some weight. Bigger tires, bigger rims, heavier cassette. But I did put carbon cranks. I had those carbon cranks left over. I went ahead and put those back on there. Anyways, so I took out to the trail, right? And I absolutely loved it. I had a blast. I had the bike was with its original fork, which is like a what did I say? It was a Recon, like a Recon 32 mil stanchions or something like that. So it was a little dead in the front because on that shock with my weight, setting it up, it's either on or off. You're either in the travel, or you're riding on top of the travel, or you're at the bottom of the travel. The mid stroke is just almost negligible on that bike, or on that fork. But nonetheless, not that it was lively or poppy or anything like that, but now it felt like a speed demon, man. Like, it was really easy to carry speed. The bigger stuff that it went over a lot more smoother than on my Bronson, except for the rear end. And but yeah, whenever I came to like some there's a rockier section called Rocky Raccoon. It's about a half mile, and it's like, you either decide that you're just going to stand up and pedal through all this and try to get through it as quick as you can. The route that we go, I'm usually pretty tired by the time I'm usually pretty tired by the time I get there, and I really just want to sit down and pedal and try to pick and choose my route so that it's not too rough. And I tried to do that in the seated position. I think it wrecked my back. Like, my lower back was pretty hurt after that particular section. So I knew I was going to be pretty stiff for the next few days. Anyways, so I loved it, dude. I did love it. Now, what I really want to do is I want to get a fork, because I really believe that if I get a fork, just like with the Grip 236 on the 27.5 wheels, like, it's going to make it come even more alive. The other thing that I would like to do with this is I would like to get I would like to go down to like a 2.4 tire, front and rear, with the 29ers. And I really think that would help, lighten up the weight a little bit, of the tire. Maybe not so heavy casing. The casing on the tires, they're DHF front and rear. Like I said, they're very mildly used. They're Trail XO, so they're not XO Plus, they're just Trail. But they, for that area, you don't need much more than that. So I would probably get the same sidewall protection, XO Trail. Wouldn't go anything more than that, but maybe go with something that carried a little bit more speed, like maybe like a Recon in the rear and the DHF in the front. Go back to the DHF. I don't know, man. Or maybe a DHF in the front and like a aggressor, as far as Max's tire is concerned. I don't know. I like to switch things up anyways, but those tires, I know what they feel like. But I had a blast. By the time I got done, even after the section of the Rocky Raccoon, like, I felt really good after the ride. Like I said, my lower back was a little sore, but I felt like I did something, and I made it through that section fast. I mean, I didn't know how fast it was, and I only had my Strava going on GPS. I didn't have my wheel speed sensor or anything like that on. But the next time I go, like, I finally get a bike computer, and I'm excited to have that thing, because it's just having the bike computer and then the wheel speed sensor. And the package I got came with a cadence sensor. I'm going to put that on there too. I really want to see, like, how many sections that I can get like new PRs on. Because it seems like every time I go out there, anyways, I get some PRs, and I did that day too. I got some PRs, um, but I think I'm going to try using the now that I have the bike computer. I'm going to try and use that to maybe just pay a little bit more attention to my cadence, pay a little bit more attention to the speed and the sections that I'm going to, and I don't know, maybe try to get a KOM before I leave. Like that'd be pretty cool. I don't have any KOMs, and I really haven't been trying, but that would be pretty cool. I did subscribe to I took the 2 month advantage of the Strava, so we'll see how that goes. Checking out all the extra features and functions that it has, and that's part of the reason why I ended up getting a bike computer too, because I just want to pay attention to that stuff a little bit more, and hopefully, use it as a tool to not only help me, be better at biking or whatever, but use it as a training tool to start getting myself a little bit more healthier. I ride my bike often enough that I shouldn't be this heavy. It's just my diet. Like, I know it's my diet. I just need to get my diet in check and get that back, because guys, I am sitting at like 220, 225 right now, and this is the heaviest that I've been in since like 2015. So pretty feeling pretty, when I talk about it, or when I think about it, I look at myself in the mirror, I'm like, come on, bro, you got to start doing something. Like, this is ridiculous. Like, and it's crazy because like my bike riding stamina is pretty good. Like, I have friends that are smaller than me in a little bit better shape, and I can ride with them just as well. Especially whenever when it comes to the climbs and the longer distances. Sitting in the seat. But yeah. So I want to use this bike computer to its full advantage, and try to help get some training out of it, and get my diet in check, and get myself like back to where I really want to be at 180, 180, 190 max, because at 190 I felt really good, and I could tell whenever I got to 200, I could tell whenever I got to two. Oh shit! So I put on almost 40 pounds for the longest time. I was thinking I've only put on 30 pounds, but for the longest time, I stayed at 190 pounds whenever I first moved here to San Antonio, November of 2020. I was 190 pounds. Sorry, I just had to think of. And now, yeah, I'm like 230, 220, or 220, 225, like maybe 230. I should go weigh myself, man. Anyways. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is Reveille Peak. Went back out to Reveille Peak and again this weekend with my buddy Nate and our Nathan and Graham. And Nathan had never been out there before. Graham's been out there before, but we did a lot of trail riding. We didn't do a lot of the jump lines, and we purposefully just went out there because the past three or four weekends I've been just doing the jump lines at Reveille Peak, because they're just so much fun. And they got a new one with a couple of step ups, and I think I don't know if I've talked about that yet or not, but yeah, I talked about it because like last week was like so much progression. I think I talked about that in the podcast, and was cool. So like going back there and bringing my friend Nathan, that's not so much a mountain biker, but he is a very skilled rider, because he's got a pretty heavy BMX background. And then now what he does, and he's working on basically riding professionally enduro motorcycle racing, which I think is rad. Like, I don't know if you guys ever seen those videos, but check out enduro motorcycle racing, and that's some crazy stuff. But that's what he does. So hopping on a mountain bike, besides pedaling, it's got handlebars. Like, dude can just shred. And with the BMX background that he has, and then the skills that he has with motorcycle, like he makes he makes me mad, because it just looks like it just comes so natural. But because he has got this background in not mountain biking and BMXing and motorcycle racing, like he just does everything just so well. Anyways, this kid's pretty amazing, man. He was doing crank flips and no footers, and he did a 360. And this is all Reveille Peak at the step ups, the new line. And like I said, I don't think they have a name for it, but they were doing some more work to it whenever we went there. Um, Looks like they're building an optional left hip off the first step up, and then they are doing a uh, uh, yeah. Then you come back down and you do another. Then you can do another left hip at the last jump. It looks like that's what they're kind of working on. So we'll see, man. It's a sick line, and there's only like four. You know, there's a you ride into it. I'm just gonna kind of describe it, right? So you start at the starting platform. You ride down. There's a little roller into like maybe a 4 foot table, immediately into a right hand berm. You come out of the berm and you have like three rollers that you can either pump or manual or whatever. And then after that, like maybe 5 or 6 feet, you have another small table that kind of hips to the left a little bit into a left hand berm. And then at the end of the left hand berm, it straightens out, and then you roll into a roller. You pump down on the roller, and then you pop up over this next table that's maybe 6 foot long, and then you land down into a steep roll in into a, I don't know, it's probably like a, I don't know, like a 6 or 7 foot step up, which everybody clears pretty easily. But it's not anything that like really shoots you up. Like by the time you're cresting over that step up, like the highest I think I've seen anybody get is like maybe 3 feet from the lip, off the ground. Like you're not very high, and that's how step ups kind of are. Like you get this huge buildup of speed, and then it sends you out. It sends you out like, you know, like 2 or 3 feet, and then you land and you're like a foot, you know, from the ground. Like, and that's kind of, anyway, so you land, and then you pedal into this really high, tall, right hand berm. It's long, but it's not like a really tall, deep berm. It's just kind of like an embankment of a berm. And then you pedal down that, pump down at the end of the roller, and then there's probably like this one's probably like an 8 or 9 foot table. Maybe it's slightly bigger, but right around there, probably 9.5 foot, I would imagine at the most, because when I look at it, it's like 2.5 bike lengths, maybe 2 bike lengths. Anyways, which I consider a bike length like 4 feet. I could be wrong about that too. Anyways, so you land down to that, and then you go down to the bottom, you pump that, and you come back up to another kicker. Now this kicker's like, or I should say, it's like a kicker into a step up, right? Now this one, I think is probably built better than the first step up, because whenever you come cresting over that, whenever you downside on it, you feel like you're floating. Like you get all this speed, you pump at the bottom, you pop at the top, and you come up over the lip of it, and yeah, like you feel like you're floating like for, you know, a couple of seconds for sure. Which you are, but it's probably more like, you know, not even a second. And then that's it. Well, not technically. You come down off of that, and this is where they're building the next feature, which looks like it's going to be just a table hip to the left. So, anyways, the run's a lot of fun, and by the time you get back to where you kind of stop at, the climb back up, you walk your bike. Like there's no like good return trail or anything like that. So everybody just kind of hops off their bike, and you walk back up to the top and you do it again. And if I hadn't talked to you guys before about it, that is the same line that comes, that you take for the whale tail, which is a really fun line that I haven't completed yet. And I wish I would have completed it last week. Again, my friend Nathan, though, he's doing all these tricks off the tops of these step ups. And now he wants to do the whale tail. I was a little tired, and I wish I could have had the energy to tow him in. I kind of had the energy to show him what the speed was. Nonetheless, I felt like my back and my legs were getting kind of crampy, so I didn't. Anyways, I coached him over it. He did fine. First couple times he actually stopped at the bottom, and actually the second time he went up to do it, he actually almost ate shit. I got a pretty cool video of that I'm gonna put up on my Instagram. But yeah, dude almost ate shit off of it, just like my friend Greg the week before, that broke his ankle. Anyways, nonetheless, went back up, did it again, got more speed, cleared it, and then he decided he wanted to finish the line. So this line that comes off of that, you do the whale tail, you come off of it, you kind of pedal into a right hand table, that's probably a good 10 feet long. Like, it's just one of those ones that kind of kicks you to the right. It's kind of like a right hip, but it's just longer. It doesn't really shoot you like up. It's not like a kick or anything like that. It's just more like a right hand table. I don't know how to explain that. Anyways, I got a video of that too. And then you come down and you pedal a little bit more, and then you go on to the, I want to call it like a boat drop. I have a problem like explaining exactly what these jumps or features are, but it's basically like a plank drop. So you start, whenever you come into it, you start climbing up at like a 45-degree angle, and then the wooden plank basically just stops, and you kind of pop off of that into a dirt transition. And then after that, if you don't have enough speed, then you pop the next table for that, which is probably another 20-foot table. But that's pretty it's pretty high speed by the time you get down to it. Anyways, this fool Nathan got he did it, like, completed it like really clean by his second run. Yeah, his second run. And then he thought a third time he was going to go back up there, but you could tell this was at the very end of the day. Not to mention, my boy, the second time on El Patron, cleared it, like cleaned everything. Like, he followed me down the first time. We kind of babied it along. Second time we went up, he freaking just sent that, man. I wish I had a good video of him clearing that table because, and the other thing I didn't mention is that Nathan is riding Graham's hardtail, which is a really badass hardtail, but it's a hardtail. And it's like the hardcore hardtail. He's got like a 160 millimeter pike on the front of it. He's got it's sitting on 27.5s, carbon handlebars, really nice pedals, box 9 group set. Like, it's a really nice build. Hub, Hunt wheels. What else is on there? He's got Mazda tires, the Victoria Mazda tires, front and rear. Like, this bike's badass, man. It really is. It's a really, really nice hardtail. And anyways, it was nice to see like that thing just getting shredded, and it did. Like, Nathan shredded the fuck out of that bike, and it was just fun to watch. And I wish, and Nathan's only 20 years old, but I wish I would have got into this just a little bit earlier, because me being 44 and being a little bit more cautious and having to, go work on my progression for, 4 days to get what he did in freaking 6 hours. Like, it's pretty cool. It's cool to watch, but a little, like, I don't want to say jealous, envy, maybe have some envy towards it. I don't know. I just wish that I would have started this a little bit earlier, but here we are, and we're doing the thing. Next thing I wanted to talk about is my YouTube channel. And if you guys don't know already, I do have a YouTube channel. I've been doing it for going on 2 years now. And same thing, I do videos on mountain bike products, reviews. I review bikes, bike parts, basically all things mountain bikes. And I really enjoy doing it. I haven't gotten I don't know if I haven't put enough effort into it, or maybe enough love to it, but the whole video editing thing, like, I'm pretty new at. I mean, I'm totally new at. Anyway, so I've got probably, and I haven't counted them, but I probably have more than 20 videos up, probably more than 30 videos up, and I haven't had like great success. The best video that I had up to this point, about the video I'm going to talk about, was a video that I put up over a year ago, over 2 years ago. Was it 2 years or a year? Hang on, I'm gonna look. I do want to know about this before I get too far off topic. Where are we going here? Go to videos. There we go. So I put this video up. It's got I published it in March 8th of 2020. This is January of 2022, right? So in March it'll be 2 years, right? It's got 3,400 views, 22 comments, 43 likes. And that was like the best, most active video that I have, right, out of all the videos. Now I have a video. I'll go back here. Now I have a video that is. Where did it go? No, not analytics. No, man, I'm so sorry. I should just pause this. No, I'm not going to. You guys are just going to hang out with me for a minute here. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Where? Go to video analytics dashboard, content, videos, and I go back up to the top here. Oh my gosh, now the computer is taking forever. Okay, so here we are. Nope, not on that page. Next page. Okay, so this video. Oh my gosh. Did I miss it? Did I look right past it? Probably did. I didn't. I looked right past it. Okay, so this video I published August 19th of 2021. It's taken off like crazy here lately, right? So I had 1,000 views on it at about the first 30 days. No, sorry. I had 65 views in the first 30 days. And then I had, in 60 days, I had 1,000 views. And in 90 days, I had like 1,900 views. In 120 days, I had 3,400 views. And here we are at 157 days, and I have 4,700 views on the video. Now, I don't know, I have no idea what makes this video more interesting or how I got so many more views on this video versus all of the other videos that I have. And especially in such a short amount of time. Like, I have no idea. And it's also produced the most subscribers from one video. It's got the most times. It's got the least amount of clicks-throughs. The average viewing time is 4 minutes and 28 seconds on a 14-minute video, which is really good. Like it's the best video out of all the videos that I have. And I was visiting with my wife about it, and she's like, "Well, just go back and watch the video." And rinse and repeat. And this video is I'm going to tell you guys in case you want to go check it out. It's my 2021 Specialized Stump Jumper Base. Is it worth the money? And I actually had a lot of fun making the video because I kind of had like this viewing direction that I wanted to go with. And I guess I really haven't done another one of these since because I do have a new bike. I just need to take some more footage of it. I do have a lot of things to say about the new bike. It's my Norco 2022 Range, which is pink bike of the year for the 2021 year. But, before that, I did the Giant Trance, which was a used bike. Same as the Stump Jumper was a used bike. So I ended up selling the Giant Trance, saving the money for that, and putting it towards the Specialized Stump Jumper. And then I did the review on the Stump Jumper, and then I sold that and basically used the money from the Stump Jumper added some money with it to get the 2021 Norco range. So eventually that bike will get sold too, but I don't think that bike will get sold for as much money as I have into it. And speaking of that, I mean that's a really cool story too, and I really hope that this gets the views that it deserves, because I ended up purchasing the Norco range at the cheapest model because I had a lot of extra parts that I was going to put on it. So it didn't make sense for me to get the most expensive model because I had some of those parts that I would have put on it anyways. Dropper seat posts, X01 gearing, or X01 drivetrain, things like that. I also had hubs. I had DT Swiss hubs that were sitting around that I was going to put on the bike. So that's why I have, like, when I was telling you guys the parts that I had off the Chameleon, the parts came off the Norco, and they're just sitting there. Anyways, so what I ended up doing was taking all these parts that I had and putting them on the Norco, and taking all the parts that came off the Norco. Now I'm basically putting them, a lot of them, on the Chameleon. So that video should be good. I just gotta get to getting some footage, some riding footage of that video, and I think that's the biggest difference. Maybe, I don't know. I guess we'll see, because I'm literally going to do exactly what my wife said with this next video whenever it comes to reviewing the bike, is just rinse and repeat, because obviously there is a lot more eye-catching things on this video that people don't mind watching. But I just feel like there's also something there that somehow it's gotten on a list of people, like, looking up the video or looking for that video. Like, is there something that I hashtagged in there that I liked? I don't know. I wish there was an analytic for that, maybe, so that I can just figure out how does this video get so popular, for my channel. You know what I mean? It's not like thousands of views or anything like that, but for my channel and what it's done, like, it's just way up. I mean, watch time is 354 hours, which is, way more than usual, and views 4,800 Ks. Like, I'm super happy. I just wish that I knew what happened after the first 90 days, that it just spiked, like, 3 times as many views in the same amount of time. So how in the hell does this GoPro how in the hell does this YouTube thing analytics work? No clue. Let's see here. I kind of lost track. Where are we at with our time? Half hour basically. So next thing I wanted to visit with you guys about, before I just stay on that with no direction of what we're going to do with it. Tires. There's so much to talk about whenever you drum up the conversation of tires. What tire pressure to use. Like, for me, for example, like, I'm a heavier rider, like, I know, and when we sit around and talk about tire pressure, like, all of my friends are, like, way lower than I am. Like, I'm running somewhere between, and taking in consideration that we do have two different, we have different tires. Some people are running Cushcore, some people aren't. If you don't know what Cushcore is, it's just this tire insert that you put in that helps protect your rim, that helps protect your tire from your rim, and helps protect your rim from the trail. And in doing that, it also helps protect your tire from getting punctured from the trail as well. So anyways, not only does that add weight, but that adds a level of comfort, and that also takes up some of the air volume in your tire, so you can run a little bit lower pressure without having to have the loss of traction. So anyways, I run higher pressure than just about anybody that's on the trail, because there's not very many people that I ride with that are my size, right? And have my tire combo and my tire set. So there's a lot to decipher whenever it comes to talking about what tire pressure you have. There's also a lot to decipher whenever you're talking about what tires do you want. Like I had a friend post up, hey, what's everybody's favorite rear tire, and like, you get all these answers right away. And, some people, whenever you ask questions like that, some people have only ever used two different tires. They might have used the first tire that came with their bike, and either they went back with that same tire, or they were a little ambitious on trying new things and they got something different. Or maybe that was the only thing that was available, So whenever you ask for opinions like that, I feel like you have to take them at a grain of salt, because they might not even know. And I hear people on the trail all the time talk about their bike. Like they got a new. Obviously, it looks like a new bike. You haven't seen the person before. You're visiting with them on the trail. You're hitting general conversation, and you ask them, "How do you like your bike? Whatever bike it is." And they say, "Oh, it's great. Blah blah blah. It does this and it does that." My next question, after they talk about how good or bad the bike is, which it's never bad. If you guys haven't figured that out yet, if you're an avid person that rides bike a lot and rides with a bunch of different people, it's always good. I asked them, what bike did you have before this bike? And just because I want to know how serious I can take their opinion on the bike that they have. Like me, for example, I've had several different bikes and I ride a bunch of different bikes. So I've ridden a bunch of different components. I've ridden a bunch of different shocks and forks. Uh, I've ridden a bunch of different drivetrains, and I've felt a bunch of different suspensions, long travel, short travel, and hardtails. You know what I mean? So I feel like whenever somebody asks me a question like that, right? Like I want to go into detail, right? But I'll chew their ear off for like an hour before we get back on the trail, or a metaphorical hour, probably too long. It's long enough where I feel like I'm just babbling about stuff and they're not really getting in, and they started the conversation thinking that this was just going to be a how's the weather kind of question and answer, and it ends up with me, it ends up being much longer. And sometimes I can read the room, and I can be like, oh shit, yeah, you probably didn't want to hear all of that, or you probably weren't looking for that much detail. But what's nice though is when you do run into somebody that wants to visit about bikes and that is really interested, and you can just roll, you can just ramble, and then they shoot you these questions because they have like similar interests, or they've ridden more than just one bike or two bikes. You know what I mean? Like in different trails, there's a lot of people that have these massive bikes with these long travel, and they stay inside of San Antonio, and it's just so crazy to me because of how many good trails are out there that you can go to really push your limits of your bike and yourself. And you have a 150 millimeter travel front and rear bike inside of San Antonio that you don't need, and it's your first mountain bike. I feel like the perfect bike for inside of San Antonio is like 130 up front, 120 in the rear, and that or smaller. Now you start going an hour outside of San Antonio, you know what I mean? If you're gonna be doing that on a regular basis, then yeah, you need something a little bit bigger. You need something 140 to 160 millimeters of travel. And if you're going to the bike park, on a regular basis, then yeah, you need an enduro bike that's 160 to 180, travel, something like that. But anyways, I'm kind of getting off subject again. Where was I? Tires. Tires. Yeah, so whenever, somebody asks your opinion on tires, I feel like there's like a lot of questions that you have to ask yourself whenever you're seeking out a new tire. and what you want out of that tire. And do you want it in the front? Do you want it in the rear? Do you want a fast rolling tire? Do you want a really good climbing tire? Because if you want a fast rolling good climbing tire, like there's some middle ground, but then there's a really good one for each or the other. You know what I mean? Either you can get a tire that's really good and grippy and climbs really well, but it's not going to climb that well. Or I'm sorry, it's not going to roll that fast. You know what I mean? It's not going to be a fast rolling tire. But then if you get a fast rolling good tire, it's not going to necessarily be a good climbing tire. So there's a lot of give and take, and what you do the most of, I feel like, is what's more important. So if you're somebody that likes to do single track and you're not doing a whole lot of climbing, then I think you need a fast rolling tire. You're just going to get, excuse me, you're just going to get a lot better performance out of that, um, because of what you mostly do. If you're somebody that goes out of town a lot, and which means you do a lot of climbing, then you're probably going to want a tire that has, and usually whenever you get a tire that's a better climber, you also get a tire that's a better braker, right, in the rear. So you can do the faster downhills and climb with confidence, corner with confidence, but it's not going to be the fastest rolling tire, which you don't usually need that much of because you're using more of the gravity to pull you down. So like a DHR, like that's a really the DHF for the front and a DHR2 for the rear is like the like best well-known tire combo, like known to mountain bikers, like in my opinion. Of course everybody can have their own opinion, but when you put that combo together, like that's really good. Like that tire is going to be a really good climber, it's going to be a really good braker, but it's not going to be a very fast rolling tire, that R2 in the rear. um, but my favorite combo is like a Mazda front and rear or a DHF front and rear, because you do get good braking knobs and you get good rolling speed. And if you're not too aggressive of a climber, like it's like the best middle ground rear tire I think that one could find. Same thing with the Mazda. Like it's just a really good tire combo, front and rear. And then when the cornering knobs or whatever gets worn out, or your braking knobs get worn out, then you can flip flop them, and you still have the same confidence, and you're not spending time getting used to the way a tire feels. I tell you what, one of the first times that I decided that I was going to switch the tires on my Bronson, I went with the Victoria brand tires. I went with a Martello, which I put initially in the front, and a Morsa that I originally put in the rear. Now that Morsa, that's another good example of a really good fast rolling tire, that has great cornering lugs, but it's not going to stop you very well because it doesn't have huge knobby edges to stop with. Um, so I originally had that Martello up front and the Morsa in the rear, and the Martello up front, I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. Actually, I didn't really care for that tire overall. Um, Whenever I had it in the front, it didn't have very good predictable cornering knobs, and so I ended up having that on the front of the bike for a very short period of time, and then I put that on the rear of the bike, and I put that Morsa up front. And man, when I put that Morsa up front, like that was such it was an even better front tire than it was a rear tire, unless you're going for again, like max speed. Like if you were to put that Morsa front and rear, that would be max speed and good cornering, right? You just wouldn't be able to stop on a dime. Anyway, so I put the Martello in the rear, and the Morsa up front gave me way more predictability, and I handled the trail really good with that tire up front. I actually really like that tire up front. I almost bought another one. Anyways, I put that Martello in the rear, and at best, that tire was a good middle ground tire for everything. It was pretty predictable in the rear for cornering. It was a pretty fast rolling tire. It did okay at braking, and it did okay at climbing. Um, I wouldn't pick that tire again because it was just, unless it was going for the rear and I found it on sale for like 25 to $40, then maybe I'd consider buying another one. But it just didn't do anything great, I guess. So I wouldn't have bought another one. I would have bought another Morsa. I would have bought a Morsa, put that thing in the front, and then put a Mazda in the rear. That would be a pretty sick combo. And I wish I still had those tires because I would do that. But I burned through both of those tires. Actually, one of them got a snake bite that I couldn't repair. That Martello ended up getting a snake bite that I couldn't repair, and the Morsa ended up running forever. And it finally just it didn't have great cornering knobs, and the center lugs were just about gone, and it was starting to be a danger to ride. Another good example of a tire, the Trail Boss, the old Trail Boss, WTB Trail Boss. I had a uh, tough rolling WTB Trail Boss. That tire is almost semi slick. Like, it handled the corners like really, really good. It was a really good fast rolling tire. The tire actually didn't climb bad, but it had no braking at all. And as you got deeper into that tire, like, it just got worse and worse and worse. And if you were trying to go down the steeper downhill stuff, like, that's a really good park tire. Like, if you're just riding park, no, if you're just riding dirt park trails, like uh, intermediate to advanced jump lines, like, that's a really good tire because you just don't want to use that tire whenever you're trying to go down the steeper parts of techier sections because the back tire just couldn't hold you still, basically. But just another good example, whenever somebody asks you, your opinion on tires, it's like, be smart enough to ask your friend, well, what do you want out of it? You know what I mean? Are you trying to go fast? Are you staying just here in town? Are you going to be, traveling a lot with it? Because here's the thing, if you get a fast rolling tire and you end up traveling with it, like, you're going to be able to do all the things, right? You're just not going to be able to do all the things well or with the same kind of confidence as if you had a different tire. So um, that's why, those questions to ask yourself, or, if you're a good friend, ask your friend, like, hey, what are you trying to get out of the tire? So I don't know, things like that. Um, Tire size, is another big thing to people. And I tell you what, um, for sure, like, my Bronson 27.5, it's a V3 model, so it's 27.5 front and rear. The new V4 model has a 27 rear and a 29er front, so they call it a mullet or MX. Um, like, that bike is fast. That bike is so fast, and it's nimble, and it's playful. It doesn't have any dead spots in it. Like, it's if I could if I could say that this bike's weak point um would be maybe the off the top suppleness. And again, that could be because of my size. It could be because of the shock. It's a Super Deluxe, a Rock Shock Super Deluxe in the rear. I sure would like to try the new Float X. I think that would be a really good shock for this bike because the off the top suppleness It's pretty stiff whenever you're going through rocky sections. Like you feel your feet wanting to bounce off of the pedals, or bouncing, slapping against the pedals. But the I think the shock tune might have a little bit to do with that, and my body weight. If I could, um, you know what though? Whenever I ended up buying for that bike. I'm getting off subject again. I ended up buying for that bike the Cascade component link, and then I was able to take a token out of it, and that made it a lot better. And then I put the neg meg, and that made it even better. But stock wise, that would probably be the weak link, right? Like, it's really fun, good poppy bike, but because that rear end is so stiff off the top, it's not so great for the really fast downhill sections, right? I forgot where I was going with this conversation now. We were talking about tires. We're going to, oh man, I lost my point of interest. Yep, totally lost it. And we're getting time. We're getting close to the end of the podcast here. But gosh, man, that sucks whenever I lose my train of thought. That's why I need to write these things down. Sometimes I just get too far off subject, and then I want to come back to it, and then the old pothead mind is just like, it's gone at some point. It just like goes, and it's not going to come back until tomorrow. I'll just be sitting here thinking, it's like, oh, that's where I was going with it. The weak point of the bike. I'm still trying here. The weak point of the bike, the Bronson. If it had a weak point, talking about tires. Gosh, tire pressure. You know, there's just so many things to talk. Oh, tire size. That's where we're going, right? So the tire size, you know, it's great for like just about everything. Now, I think the new iteration of the bike being a mullet, 29 in the front, 27.5 in the rear, right? Like, you literally do get the best of both worlds. So the rollover speed, and having the comfort of a 29er, and the being able to go over that stuff fast, and then, you know, having a supple rear end but smaller, so it'll be more playful. Like, that totally makes sense to me. But I tell you what, my 2022 Norco is currently 29er front and rear. And when that thing is pointed downhill and it's got the terrain that it demands, like, this bike can go over the biggest, gnarliest shit, like, really fast, like stupid fast. Like, it's actually built up my my confidence for basically riding any bike fast downhill, which is cool. Like, downhill fast, chunky stuff. And in my videos, like, I think that's the thing that I want to focus on the most whenever I do the video on the Norco, is just how chunky the stuff is and how steep it is, and this bike just flies down it. But I am a huge fan of the mullet setup, and I know that Williams Racing is currently making a link for that bike, and I will be trying it, because that makes sense to me. Like, even in all situations, whenever racing and racing downhill, in all of those situations, having a 29er up front and 27.5 in the rear makes sense to me, because that 29er is going to it's just being dragged behind you, so it's going to help you corner a little faster. I haven't ridden a mullet setup, but like everybody talks about the same few things, right? Like, it's more playful in the rear end, it's more predictable in the rear end. You corner a little faster, you come around, it feels like you come around the corners a little faster, and like, all those things, whenever it comes to racing and carrying speed, like, all that stuff makes sense to me. Now, whenever you have a trail bike and you're not racing, you're just out there, you know, trying to carry speed and have fun. I feel like the either 27.5 or 29er front and rear makes the most sense. Okay. But like the new version of the Bronson feels like there's more versatility there because you could take that bike and you could probably race probably 80% of the races that are in the United States for for enduro, um, being in that setup. And I think, like, honestly, I think that that would be a really good enduro bike for what we have down here in the south, in the South Texas area, because it would the platform, the pedaling platform on that bike is like stupid good, anyways. And then now it's got the versatility of having a 29er up front. The bike's going to be light. That's the other thing about my Norco. That bike is stupid heavy, and that's why it really, like, it'll truck up anything like really slow. Like, I call it the tank. But it bombs down everything really fast. So it's just, so there's the talk about the wheel size whenever you talk about tires, 27.5 versus 29er, and 26s is a dirt jumper. Like, there's a lot of things to take in consideration. So just ask yourself some more questions whenever you talk about what tire you want and why you want that tire, what you're going to be using that tire for. Anyways, that's the premise of it. Guys, we're over an hour here. Appreciate you listening up to this point. Peace out. Go ride your bike now.